All right, back live with you tonight here in Focus Inkatha Freedom Party leader Velenkosini Hlabisa has lauded the Government of National Unity's progress in dealing with natural disasters. Hlabisa briefed the media earlier today on the party's reflection on the 100 days since the formation of the GNU. The IFP also says it will not run to the courts over policy disputes, but will use structures set up at cabinet level to process them. The IFP's national spokesperson, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, joins me now in studio. Hlengwa, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. However, be it also a very difficult time for the organization, having lost one of your members of parliament. Maybe just as we come in your reflection.
No, thank you very much, Butabo. Good evening to you and the viewers. Yes, on behalf of the Inkatha Freedom Party, we want to convey our sincerest condolences to the Buthelezi family and the Buthelezi clan, and specifically to Inkosi Ntuthukayezu Buthelezi, uNdlunkulu Mamhale, Princess Phumzile, and Princess Angela's daughter, Usisi Ntando, on what has really just been a shock to all of us. Whilst Princess Angela was ill, we did not anticipate that it was illness that would turn for the worst. She was a leader in her own right, and had served in many structures. She had been in the SAPS before becoming the municipal manager of Ulundi municipality, where she was a very capable and able administrator, bringing about stability, ensuring good governance. And of course, had also taken over that municipality as in a very turbulent and difficult time. And then ill health at the time then forced her to leave employment, and she made recovery, and she came back in the positions of political work and supported the work of the party. She actively participated, and she was deployed to the Political Oversight Committee, which is responsible for the oversight and accountability of our councillors, because of her experience, very vast and credible experience in local government, and she was an invaluable member of that committee. She subsequently was appointed to the National Council, and in 2021 the party deployed her to Parliament, where she served in various committees, including water and sanitation, human settlement. And we have lost a very dedicated servant of the people and a very dedicated leader of the IFP. But I think on the other side, of course, our outlook is towards the family, whom we lost Prince Buthelezi last year in September. We lost Princess Irene in 2019. And of course, it's a difficult time for the family. And she loved her dad. She supported her dad very much. The only issue that I had with her was that we contested the position of last born. And so we ably always agreed that we were both the last borns. And I really feel for the family, and President Hlabisa today conveyed the condolences of the IFP, and we are in constant communication to give them support. And once the preparations and plans have all been finalized, we will make the announcements to lay Princess Angela to rest, and we wish her, a good journey to the other side, and for her to go to her dad, whom she loved very much, and may she rest in peace.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much. Let's come back to the address a little bit earlier on by President Hlabisa, and of course the reflection of the 100 days of Government of National Unity. Have you had any major disputes with the members of the GNU, unlike the ones that we know, for example, with the Democratic Alliance that have been playing out loud and clear in the public? But yourself as the IFP?
Well, substantively, the issues of the NHI and the Bella Act capture the imagination of the dispute realm at this point in time. But otherwise, so far so good. I think that there has been a genuine effort on all GNU partners to establish government and to ensure that the work of the people moves ahead. You know that we had the cabinet Lekgotla, which then developed the medium-term development plan, and also then the priorities as spelled out by the President in the opening of Parliament address. The MTDP is a consolidation of the manifestos of all the parties in the GNU to then craft a roadmap which departments must now factor into their annual performance plans, and that's why there's a review currently going on, and Parliament is seized with the review of all those performance arrangements so that we can be able to then roll out development for the people, because that's the urgent and immediate task. So I would not also escalate the issue of the Bella Act and the NHI to major issues. Those are issues we knew going into the government of national unity, that they were already, problematic in one way or the other, and so we're not blind to those. Secondly,
what particularly struck me was the president saying that, well, we prepared ourselves, we did some groundwork coming into this government of national unity, and so, as you're putting it, we were not surprised, and so when we meet some of these things, we are meeting them well prepared. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, the indicators were all there. Polling was very clear that South Africa was headed to a coalition government of some sort, and what has emerged out of that reality is a government of national unity. And so that is why we had undertaken study tours to countries like Germany and Denmark, whom have had these kinds of government for the longest of time. And secondly, we were very focused on analyzing what was happening at local government level to sort of understand the fault lines. And that is why the president of the IFP today welcomed the initiative by the president to establish the GNU clearinghouse, which is a deadlock breaking mechanism. It's a policy, discussion unit which will look at these issues, and it's chaired by the deputy president. The IFP has appointed me to serve on that body, and we will be grappling with these issues. I mean, we will be dealing with Bella Act-related matters just on Thursday. The deputy president has convened that meeting, and that is the spirit we want to engender in the GNU. It has to be about discussions and negotiations, and there's going to be elements of compromises, because you are consolidating a development plan through the prism of 10 political parties.
More than threatening each other and threatening pulling out of particular metros and so on and so forth.
It would be the wrong course of direction to take. It would be reckless and irresponsible to have a default position that every time there is a disagreement and you threaten to leave. Prince Buthelezi used to say something very, very important, that let us be able to agree to disagree without being disagreeable. We have got a duty and a responsibility to the electorate to see the GNU through for the full term, because it provides stability, it provides policy certainty, and it provides the kind of clarity needed for investment. And our focus must be on jobs and the economy and service delivery. So we have to inculcate it into our minds that, yes, there will be disagreements. It would be strange if they weren't, because then it would presuppose that we have not, consolidated a manifesto. So as far as we are concerned as the IFP, these are necessary teething problems for the future, because they help us establish the necessary mechanisms and structures to deal with areas of disagreement. So quite frankly, we do not believe at this point in time that these are deal breakers. It would also be presumptuous to say so when you have not actually engaged in a process of discussions and negotiations. And I think that the parameters have been drawn, and the parties will make representations on the issues and will develop a roadmap to that. So there has to be a sobriety of mind and a calming minds, but also the understanding that a government of this nature is a government of compromises.
Yeah. But many would look at you talking the politics now of it, that you're well at home within the government of national unity, because others view the IFP as a right-leaning organization. So to be in a coalition with the DA is a non-issue for you. What do you make of the noise coming from the left?
I think that if we are going to spend time on the isms and the theatrics of who's where and what's not, what we have is a medium-term development plan that we have agreed to. It has got elements in there which feature the entire spectrum, from the left to the right. And so what we need to do is to ensure that we remain committed to our own commitments. That's number one. Two, it forces thinking at a pragmatic level to find that which works. And so there has to be some sort of suspending these kind of ideological debates, which in fact sometimes in South Africa, when you listen to them, you begin to realize that they are more sloganeering as opposed to being substantive in detail. The medium-term development, in our view, is substantive enough for us to be able to govern, to develop the country over the next 5 years and beyond. And so really our focus right now is not on the noise. President Hlabisa spoke today about the voice of reason and the voices of destruction. And our focus is to say what works and make it work. Let me make this example. If you go to Germany, for example, they've got every time after an election, it takes a while, and they develop a pact or an agreement which is very substantive. But the interesting part is that at the back of that, they put in the areas where they have not agreed, and those are the areas which will not form part of the agenda for the country in that term of office. And what we want to do is let us go and lift out the areas of disagreement, isolate them, and those that where we agree, let's move until we are able to find each other.
To the approach that the president has taken, for example, with the Bella bill, to say, well, we're not agreeing on this clause and that clause, let's put those in abeyance, but let's move on with this.
Exactly. And it's also with the NHI. There is no disagreement on the principle that there must be universal access to healthcare for South Africans. Where there are areas of disagreement is on the modalities of the achievement of that. So it's now matters of the how. And those are the things that we need to actually deal with. And I think that the GNU clearinghouse mechanism, of course, will still evolve with experience and as realities prevail, and we will make it work. Because what's important here is to also create the structures for the future, because it's quite clear that we are going to be settled with this kind of governance structure for a while, and we need to borrow from best experience. And so you raised the issue of a matter rather that we will be raising in the GNU clearinghouse is the reports we have received that DERCO will be instructing the Taipei liaison office to close shop here in Pretoria, and we do not agree that Taiwan has to be shipped out of South Africa. We believe that they got a meaningful role to play in the South African development agenda through investment, skills development, and other exchanges that they have done for the past 26 years. And we had fostered a relationship with them for the longest of time. And we believe that to be a friend of Taiwan and to be working with Taiwan does not presuppose that you are anti-China. And so we need to look at
that on the eve of the BRICS gathering tomorrow.
And so we certainly do not believe that the approach that DERCO is said to be approaching, rather fostering, will be the correct one.
But going BRICS way anyway does it not end up alienating Taiwan anyway?
Well, I mean, the whole issue of BRICS in itself is not a silver bullet, right? In the sense that it is going to solve our problems as the alpha and omega. South Africa cannot position itself in isolation to other strategic, geopolitical and multilateral organizations and institutions. The diversity of our economy and our needs currently require us to be able to tap into across the spectrum insofar as the developmental opportunities and investment opportunities that are available. BRICS is one such vehicle, but we need to broaden our horizons. And what we are saying is that these opportunities available for us in the, I think come the next question session, which is on Wednesday, we'll be raising a bit more substantively the argument around why Taiwan remains an important and integral part of the opportunities we are doing. Also part of the social corporate responsibility programs that Taiwanese business people have been fostering in the country. We are speaking about SEZs, we're speaking about jobs, speaking about investments. So it's important. Let me take it a step back. We on this issue had to go to court on the Tibetan issue insofar as the Dalai Lama is concerned. And so I'm trying to say that at this point in time, it's not a matter that can be resolved at the stroke of a signature. It is incumbent on DIRCO to make substantive presentations on the direction they are taking, because it is no longer DIRCO of yesteryear. It's DIRCO of a new reality. It's DIRCO which operates within the framework of new partners.
Let's talk about the optics of it. Look great for many people. The president saying, well, look, even confidence, the confidence index is rising. He, however, says that as the ANC, now he's speaking as the president of the ANC, when he was addressing the 100 days of government for national unity, they managed to get the priorities of the ANC prioritized within the deliverables. You are saying all parties from the left to the right have been included. Hold that thought. Let me take a break. We'll come back and get you to respond to that. IFP's national spokesperson, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, on the 100 days of government of national unity. Stay with us. Back on our reflection tonight on the Government of National Unity, IFP's national spokesperson, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, with us in the studio. So I was saying, the president of the ANC at Luthuli House saying to the people, we've managed to get the priorities of the ANC as part of that statement of intent, and so we will deliver on our manifesto promise. You are saying you as the IFP will deliver on your manifesto promise. It's either your manifesto promises are interlinked, they're all the same, or there's something that is not
well, I mean,
sense.
I don't think that we are all far apart in the understanding the dire challenges the country is faced with. And that's why I keep going to the how part.
Yeah.
Now, the IFP is currently deployed to COGTA and Public Service and Administration, and the Deputy Minister level at Transport, and then at Forestry, Fishery and the Environment. Those are areas within our immediate purview. Would there be disagreement when we said we want to fix municipalities? No, there's not. When we roll out a bold plan to professionalize the public service, no, it's not. When we want to fix the transport system in its entirety, we're not far apart. You're looking at the issues of the environment and the economic opportunities and the forestry and the fisheries. Are we far apart? No, we are not. These are all economic drivers. These are all economic enablers which create a capable state and deal with the challenges confronting our people. But more broadly is that when we're sitting around the table, we must be able to exert the necessary influence on key priority areas, right. And hence the issue we are raising around the implementation model of the NHI. You're looking at the issues we're raising around international relations and, of course, the contributions we'll be making to the Bella Act. So all of these things are interlinked, and so you're going to find different flavors of the different political parties in all of it. But there has to be a discipline in the parties that we have managed to arrive at a point of having a plan. And the benchmark of our success must be that commitment, because it sets the tone for people who want to interact with South Africa. It sets the tone for development. What I really think has to happen, we need to tone down on the excitement and realize that we have got a huge responsibility on our shoulders, and that responsibility is to turn things around. South Africans went into these elections worried about the future. And so once we have been able to allay anxieties, we need to translate that positive energy into service delivery.
Are you concerned, though, particularly with the portfolios that you have taken upon? One being COGTA, there's a huge, huge responsibility at local government to see delivery actually begin to happen. And there are those who take some of the more Instagrammable moments of we have gone through and inspected establishments here, and we have deported so many people, or we found these ones undocumented, and so on and so forth, or we have cancelled a contract, for example, for those public offices. Now guys must go and use those offices because we've been paying rent on those, and things like that. That are easy pickings, really. COGTA, not so much easy pickings. There's no place where the IFP can now really say, look, this is what we have achieved at COGTA in this.
No, I think that the past 100 days, insofar as COGTA has been concerned, the minister is very much firmly at the helm of that department, because he also comes with the experience of almost close to 20 years in the local government space. As I expect, was one of the longest serving councillors and has been a mayor. So the understanding is important first. The lay of the land is clearly within Minister Hlabisa's purview. And today he spelled out some of the achievements. You had problems in Mkhuleko, for example, which were about the Eskom debt, they were about the payment of salaries in that municipality, and he's been able to resolve that working with Eskom, the provincial government, and Mkhuleko municipality. Obviously, the problems in Mkhuleko are huge, and they were within his purview and working to sort them out. We had you had issues in Mkhuleko, particularly around the ministerial representative, and he's bringing about a sense of stability in those municipalities. The other exercise that COGTA has done has been to categorize the municipalities so that into 3 streams, and the most problematic ones are within the minister's purview. But there's the other side of the COGTA portfolio, traditional affairs, which is somewhat very neglected at times, and there is good work that has already been done, and the restoration of relations and cordiality between traditional leadership in government and the kings and queens and principal traditional leaders. So as far as we are concerned, there has to be greater consequence management, one, at municipal level, and he needs to actually, drive that. 2 is the regularization of the usage of Section 139, so that they can be terms of reference and a framework in terms of when is it applied, how is it applied, and the checklist, which will then say when has it been successful or how is it going. So that is all important and is within his purview. And lastly is to say it is everybody's business to make sure that local government works, because that's where the tire hits the tar. So every portfolio, whether it's water, human settlements, transport, the public service, the environment, all departments ultimately have got to perform well so that municipalities function. And the final point on the COGTA question is that the minister is very clear. He has written to all departments and said that you must pay your rates and taxes to municipalities because the user pay principle must apply. But it doesn't end there. If you do not meet the deadline of December 31 this year, he will then be approaching the Minister of Finance that what you owe must be taken from your baseline budget. Is
that something that will be done for the first time?
And this is something that...
Been done.
Exactly. And so we also have to apply consequence management amongst ourselves in the GNU. There also has to be checks and balances in the GNU which are tangible and point to deliverables to say that if we've said we will do this, then we will do it. So we are pretty confident in the expertise of the Minister of COGTA, and we are quite certain that the team at COGTA will be able to turn things around under his leadership. Wage
negotiations are coming up in public service. Do you see that as a point of tension, particularly with the closeness of the ANC to COSATU?
Well, it's a necessary reality, but what we need to be mindful of are the economic conditions that the country is currently faced. 2, we need to reduce the public wage bill, but at the same time, there has to be a recognition that we actually do need to have additional persons employed in the state. If you're looking at the question of teachers, for example, you're looking at the issue of nurses, you're looking at social work and so on.
The crime situation.
The crime situation. And I think that so far the Minister of Public Service and Administration has been consulting very broadly and understanding the lay of the land, preparing for those wage negotiations, and I believe that they will be able to find each other. The key critical aspect here is that governance is a relationship between the government and the stakeholders, and I think that that's the primary focus of the minister. But the inverse of that is also the responsibility on unions, amongst others, to hold accountable members. Consequence management can't be one direction. Professional bodies have got a responsibility to hold their members accountable. So when we look at the ecosystem of the wage bill, it has to be in tandem as to whether are we delivering, are we achieving, because the responsibilities lie with those with whom the state employs. And so I think the outlook which the minister has is good. And two, he's dealing with this pandemic of people who are on suspensions time immemorial, to make sure that there's a quick turnaround time on disciplinary processes and consequence management, all in an effort to create coherence in the public service space.